Good Sunday morning. I guess a couple of good things happened in the past few days. Like Friday the 13th, Trump admin eliminates Obama era vehicle engine emission standards. So I guess you could say Trump makes vehicles great again. So I read this article and it said on Thursday, Trump's Environmental Protection Agency eliminated both the Obama era 2009 greenhouse gas endangerment findings and all subsequent federal greenhouse gas emission standards for all vehicles and engines of model years 2012 to 2027 and beyond, which the agency says will save American taxpayers over $1.3 trillion. This action eliminates all off cycle credits, including for almost universally hated start stop feature, which, if anybody has ever drove a vehicle, owns a vehicle, we actually had one. 2015 Chevy Malibu. What was it? The LTE or LTZ, whatever. First time it happened, I thought, what the hell? Got up to a red light stop. Some bitch shut off. I thought, oh no. Let off the brake and started back up. Dumbest thing I've ever seen. It says a historic move restores consumer choice, makes more affordable vehicles available to American families, and decreases cost of living on all products and lowering cost of trucks. This major deregulatory process included substantial public input and robust analysis for law following the U.S. Supreme Court decision in Looper Bright Enterprise versus Raimondo and West Virginia versus EPA, and the EPA press release said. And it goes on basically to continue about everything that they did, which eliminating that start stop, it really doesn't do anything. They say it lowers emissions. I don't see how. I see it as a drain on your starter. It's access use of your starter. It shuts your car off for what, 30, 40 seconds, and it's sitting there with the battery on. That kind of seems like a drain to the battery, but they went through it. It talks about the basically the mental gymnastics that the Obama Biden administration had to go through to get this stuff passed. And I was kind of curious of what it would do for diesel engines, so I did some looking. And basically, it's saying that they're still, I don't know. It's all up in the air, I think, because I couldn't find really anything. Because it's something I know I'm near and dear to. But basically, the EPA is still going to require DEF, but what they're going to do is I guess the DOJ is not going to prosecute people that delete that DEF system off, even though states can prosecute you and all that other shit. But this one, see, I ran newer dozers, and all these newer dozers was equipped with this DEF. And what they're talking about, they're basically doing away. They're going to make them. The EPA is going to make manufacturers update their software and put it in programs and put it in the equipment that does away with, like, they call it limp mode, but in a lot of in like heavy equipment, it's called derating big trucks. And you got to think it can't be safe. Like if you're running low or there's an issue with the DEF system, the vehicle actually goes into limp mode or derate, and it just kills the power to nothing. And it's absolutely stupid. Just imagine an over the road truck going 70 mile an hour down the interstate, has an issue with the DEF or runs out of DEF because maybe they didn't have any at the last truck stop or something. So they run out, they're on the interstate 70, 75 mile an hour, and just all at once, woof, it's in limp mode. You're only able to, run 25 mile an hour. Now it's a danger, and it can't pull a hill. The dozer would efficiently, like, effectively, whenever they would go into derate for whatever issue, maybe it couldn't burn off, or maybe someone shut it off mid regen, because that's what they do is they call it a regen while it's dosing the exhaust with this basically nothing more than water and urea, basically water and piss. Or maybe someone didn't let it finish and shut it off, shut the master switch off, and there it is. It's dead in the water. You start it up, you're over there pushing away dirt, whatever you're pushing, and it just decides I don't want to run anymore. Throws a big code. Now, to get those vehicles or that equipment out of D-rate, you got to bring a mechanic in, and they have to hook up to it with a computer and clear the codes and all that. And if there's any damage, fix that, whatever. Seems like more of a hassle than anything else. But basically, they're going to do away with the limp mode. According to everything I've read, they're basically going to do away with the limp mode if it runs out of DEF. So did he make equipment and vehicles better? I guess we'll have to see. I thought that was a good thing that he eliminated a lot of stuff, especially that start-stop thing. I have two Volkswagens from that era that don't do that garbage, and that's why I have them. That start-stop thing's retarded. It's the dumbest thing. If you go over to the actual EPA, Administrator Lee Zeldin eliminated, and he didn't eliminate, like a lot of people are saying, he killed the start-stop. No, he did away with the credit, the off-cycle credit, which was just a hoop that car manufacturers could jump through to get this credit. And it really just raised the cost of vehicles, the DEF systems, all this. It just raised the cost. And I can see what he's doing. He's lowering the prices of them. Thank God. Maybe a decent 3/4 ton or 1 ton truck won't cost $80,000. Or and this was all done by the in 09 and 2012. The reason they did it is right here, and this is from the EPA. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to put clips of it up so you can read through it if you want to, or you can just go over to the EPA.gov. It says earlier today, Administrator Zeldin finalized the single largest deregulatory action in U.S. history. 2009 endangerment finding was used to justify trillions of dollars in regulations, including the Obama and Biden administration's illegal push towards electric vehicles, mandates, and compliance requirements, while simultaneously driving up the cost of vehicles in American families and small businesses, limiting economic mobility and the American dream. The final rule will save America $1.3 trillion by removing regulatory requirements to measure, report, certify, and comply with federal greenhouse gas emission standards for motor vehicles, and repeals associated compliance programs, credits, provisions, and reporting obligations that exist solely to support the vehicle greenhouse gas regulatory regime. Americans will have certainty, flexibility, and regulatory relief, allowing companies to plan appropriately and empowering American families. I mean, it's probably going to lighten up the miles per gallon stuff. I think it's going to do a lot of good. And that's just my opinion. That helps. It helps a lot to do away with that garbage. Now manufacturers don't have to. It's up to the manufacturer basically if they want to keep the start stop, but with everybody hating the start stop, I don't see them keeping it. And I see it won't be. If I had to guess, it probably won't be long before the DEF thing's gone. It doesn't make sense. I've covered that in one of my other videos. But anyways, onward and upward. This one kind of made me giddy from February 14th, yesterday. Happy Valentine's Day. Record numbers of illegal aliens are now self-deporting. Are choosing to self-deport rather than be deported. Figures show that in 2025, almost 30% of deportation cases ended with the illegal alien choosing to self-deport rather than to be removed from the U.S. And it says, a record number of illegal aliens are now choosing to self-deport rather than be deported, according to the news figures released by CBS News. Um, Figure shows that in 2025, 30% of deportation cases ended with the illegal alien choosing to self-deport rather than be removed from the U.S. That figure only appears to climb as the Trump administration's immigration crackdown widens and detention population swells. The percentage of voluntary departures among these detained grew nearly every month in 2025, reaching 38% in December. So, see, that's awesome. They said, well, instead of getting caught and getting thrown out for good, let's get out of here now and maybe have a chance of coming back and doing it legally. This analysis does not include who were not given a hearing before an immigration judge, just as immigrants in expedited removal proceedings. Figures are a clear sign that Trump administration's policy of providing incentives for illegals to leave the country is working. Illegal aliens who self-deport via administration's CBP Home app are now given $2,600 stipend and a free plane ticket. Tax money used well. We'll pay for you to get the hell out of here instead of paying for you all year long. That works. Some may not agree with that, but do what it takes. Now, to celebrate a year of the administration, the U.S. taxpayer is generously increasing the incentive to leave voluntarily for those in the country illegally, offering a $2,600 exit bonus. DHS Secretary Noam announced last month illegal aliens should take advantage of this gift and self-deport because if they don't, we will find them, we will arrest them, and they will never return. The administration has claimed at least 2 million illegal aliens have left the U.S. on their own choice. Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics backs up this claim, showing that foreign-born population of the U.S. has declined by 2.3 million since President took office. So that's another good thing. We're going to give them $2,600 and a free plane ticket. Now, I agree with that. I mean, I'd rather do that than pay for their welfare, pay for their HUD house. I'd rather do that. I'd rather, okay, take a few dollars out of my taxes, get them a plane ticket, give them, and a stipend is, for those of you who don't know what a stipend is, just a payment, a one-time payment. They're going to give them $2,600, get out. Like, here's your plane ticket, here's $2,600, have a nice life back in your country. Works for me. I mean, if and there might be some blowback on that, me saying that, because maybe some people don't agree with that. Well, we shouldn't pay them. We've been paying for them the whole time they're here. Make them one last payment and get them gone. 2.3 million. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's that's a drip in the bucket, but that's a lot. You know what I mean? And if we can incentivize them to leave and do it the right way, I say go for it. I say go for it. Criminals are going to hide. They're not going to. They're not going to stick around. They're going to wait to be caught. But the ones that are like, oh, okay, I messed up, and they feel their free ride coming to an end, they'll take that stipend, take that free plane ticket, and get out to avoid prosecution. And maybe they'll try it legally. Maybe they'll try it on a merit based thing. I don't know. Which, mentioning merit based, brings me to my last thing that I want to talk about that I think is an absolute great thing. The FAA will force airlines to affirm merit based hiring for pilots. Say no more. Merit based hiring for pilots. Enough said. Because if everybody remembers back when Biden was in office, he did this DEI hire where you could hire an airline pilot based off race over skill, gender over skill. And I don't know about y'all. I don't fly, but I'm planning on taking a flight sometime. I don't want to get on an airplane where somebody was hired based on their skin color or what their gender is. I really don't give a shit. I want to know that they're the best, and that's what it goes on to say. Federal Aviation Authority will now mandate that all commercial airlines formally commit to merit-based hiring for pilots. According to the new rule, all U.S. carriers must certify that they have ceased to hire pilots based on race or sex. If carriers refuse, they will face a federal investigation. Say no more. That's it right there. Um, and this shouldn't even have to be a rule. This is something that shouldn't have to be a rule. The FAA will now mandate that all commercial airlines formally commit to merit-based hiring for pilots. According to the new rule, all U.S. carriers must certify that they have ceased to hire pilots based on race or sex. That should have never been happening in the first place. That DEI stuff, this is part of that. Um, we don't have enough of this person or that person or these people in our. So we're just going to hire some asshole based on, you might have a veteran pilot sitting here and some newbie, we'll just say, of a different collar over here, and they're going to pass up this veteran and give it to the newbie based on skin color. That's stupid. That is, it's just stupid. It's stupid. This DEI shit has gotten way out of hand. We shouldn't be having to make rules like this in America. We just shouldn't. If carriers refuse, they will face federal investigation. When families board an aircraft, they should fly with confidence, knowing that the pilot behind the controls is the best of the best, Department of Transportation Secretary Sean P. Duffy said. The American people don't care what their pilot looks like or their gender. They just care that they're the most qualified man or woman for the job. Amen. That's what you want. Same with a bus driver, tractor trailer drivers. You want to know they're the best of the best going up and down the road or flying across the sky. You don't want some DEI hire doing it. The DOT said that although the FAA has raised performance standards to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusivity positions within the agency, allegations of airlines hiring based on race and sex remain. And I'm sure they do. I mean, President Trump issued an executive order and presidential memorandum on his second day back in office to tighten the standards on aviation. In the executive order, Trump wrote critical institutions, including commercial airlines, have adopted dangerous, demeaning, and immoral race and sex bias preferences. The president's memorandum ordered Secretary Duffy and the FAA to end all DEI initiatives to the agency. President Trump blamed DEI policies at the FAA for the deadly crash a week later that left 67 people dead. And that was back in June, I do believe it was. And it's probably true. That probably is what happened. It is a bare minimum expectation for airlines to hire the most qualified individual when making someone responsible for hundreds of lives at a time. The FAA Administrator Brian Bedford said, "Someone's race, sex, and creed has nothing to do with their ability to fly and land an aircraft safely." That's all you need to know right there. I mean, that's another great thing. This whole that whole woke thing, when you're putting people's lives, I don't know how many people a plane can hold. I guess 100 or so, maybe. You're just gonna say, okay, well, we're gonna hire them because they're a black female, or that's a Muslim male over this guy just because he's white. I mean, it's stupid. It's utterly stupid, and those are three great things I've seen. For a Sunday, thought maybe it'd be a good day to put out some good news. Merit-based hiring for pilots. Thanks, Trump. Thank you. Doing away with stupid credits in the emissions section of the world, and hopefully that lowers the cost of vehicles. Good thing. And illegal self-deporting in record numbers. Phenomenal. Three great things. Or at least in my opinion, they're three great things. As always, if you enjoy my content, you want to support my channel, I'll leave a link in the description. Or you can slide over to my sponsor, Dubby. Put in Matt's opinion as a coupon code. Save yourself 10%, and they'll support me for you supporting them. And that's all I got for this Sunday. For Matt's opinion, I'm out.